on 680 CJOB.
Hello, welcome. Jets at noon. Camp Poitras, Jim. He's not there. No, he's off this week. I'm flying solo. So you stuck with me. Jets at noon is brought to you by Camp Poitras, by the way. Jets at noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line wins a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program as we're coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio for gourmet pizza and pasta. Bring the team to Boston Pizza. No, Jim's away. He's been volunteering to dig wells in Africa. So that's what he's been up to. He's a giver. You know, Jim told he's not a taker. He doesn't like to take. He loves to give. He just loves to give. So hopefully we'll have him back next week, but we'll, there's lots of stuff going on, but you never know what could happen. Could be off to Nicaragua next to help build a school down there. This is just the kind of guy that Jim Toews is. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, as many Winnipeg Jets fans are keeping an eye on this. The Jets putting this out on X just before 11:30 this morning with the caption, "We play hockey this month." And lo and behold, number 19, Jonathan Toews is out there at Hockey for All Center just doing some... Yeah, and we'll get into all that as well. Very happy to welcome Andrew Ladd onto the program, welcoming him back to the show. Hey, Andrew, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, we're flying solo here. Jim Toews has abandoned me today, so it's just going to be you and I, and we're talking about this wonderful charitable organization that you have going. So tell me about what you have coming up. We were able to. You joined us last week, and that was great. Or a couple weeks ago, and we talked about your time in Winnipeg, but we wanted to have you on back and talk about the great initiatives that you're doing and about your charitable organization. So, just give us the Coles notes on it, and we'll dig a little deeper.
Yeah, so we started the program, I guess, piloted about 4 years ago. As really it's a proactive approach to mental well-being for young hockey players. So the program's absolutely free. It's for any kid or team between the ages of 10 to 12. So that usually falls under kind of the U13 bracket in Canada. And what it is, it's just kids get to learn about confidence, connection, and character through the stories of current and former professional athletes. So the idea is for them to learn from people who have been through those experiences as these kids are navigating a sport. And as we know, I think that one of the biggest values in sport is the opportunity to create great humans, and hockey is a great game because there's so many micro moments where, as a coach or a parent, you have the opportunity to have that influence on your kid or all the kids. Who
are some of those leaders that you have?
So we have, so the videos are anywhere from, we have Patrick Kane and Mark Giordano. We have the 2005 World Junior team, so a bunch of big names from that group. We have Blair Turnbull, and kind of the list goes on and on. So the kids get to watch short 5-minute videos about those players and what they've gone through over their career, and learn about the concepts I was talking about, and then there's also content for parents and coaches with the idea of helping support them as their kids are navigating all these different things through the hockey season.
So the program begins next month in October 2025. How does it work?
Yeah, so registration is now open, and teams can register from basically now up until the end of the year. So you would just go to 1616.org, and that's it. So you can sign up individually, or the way we like to set it up is your whole team can go through it at the same time. And then the cadence is just, hey, you get a video a week, and then there's content to support, like I said, the parents and coaches to help reinforce the concept of the week. So it's a really light touch. We've, as a parent of 3 kids going through hockey, I understand time is limited. So we really tried to get the most bang for our buck and try to make it really engaging for not only the kids but parents and coaches to create as much value for them throughout the hockey season.
What's the thing you've learned the most from doing this?
Oh man, I think there's what I learned over my career and the idea that like we're so intentional with kids and their physical skill at a young age. It just makes a ton of sense to me that we spend that much attention on the mental side of the game and life in general. And I think throughout the course of my career, I learned so much, and even now, guys are investing, girls are investing in the mental side of the game, and they're taking that so much more serious. So the idea of getting that to kids at a younger age and helping support them through a lot of the different challenges they're going to face, that is life. Their challenges are going to come their way. So how do we prepare them to be equipped with the skills to navigate those? And understand kind of who's around them to support them through those moments.
Do you wish something like this was available when you were getting started?
Yeah, for sure. I think part of me starting this was the idea of like, hey, throughout the course of a 16-year NHL career, you have the opportunity to reach out to the best people in the world in terms of training and whether it be on the physical or mental side. And this was a massive hole in the market. So for me, yes, like I had to kind of hit a wall towards the end of my career and start to discover a lot of these different concepts and stuff myself and where that showed up in my life. So if we can put a microscope on that for kids and families at 10 to 12, then, in my mind, we're preparing them for life in such a more powerful way.
Was there a specific moment that sort of drove you that were like, man, this is something once my career is said and done, I want to go after something like this. I want to start something like this. Was there an instance, or was this sort of just a culmination of just things that happened over your experience as a hockey player and a father and a husband?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a culmination. And then, I remember it was a year after the lockout, and I was with the New York Islanders, and they didn't want me. It was a weird year where they had like the taxi squad, and they didn't want me on the big club. They didn't want me on the taxi squad because, for whatever reason, because I made too much money, they couldn't call me up anyways. And they didn't want me in the minors because they wanted their young guys to play. So I was literally skating by myself. I would text Lou Lamoriello at probably like 9, 10 o'clock at night and say, hey, what time can I skate the next day? So as I was going through that, which was, it's COVID, you're already like isolated enough. And, you're isolated even more. And I was working with a mental performance coach at the time. And he said like, hey, like at the end of this year, what would you be proud of? And to me, it was like, this was a passion of mine for a long time. And my wife and I had always kind of contemplated like, hey, how do we make a dent in just the mental health space? And this seemed like a fantastic way to get proactive about it. So that's kind of where the idea started. And then when you're skating by yourself the whole year, you have a little more time. And I was able to like tap into like, okay, purpose in that moment and how do I create something that I'll be proud of? And it's kind of a legacy piece, right? How do you leave the game better than you left it? So that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, I mean, and Blake Wheeler, we were speaking to him earlier this summer too, and he's kind of spoke along the exact same lines of you. And I know that he's he's on your website here and meet the lead about behind the lessons and stuff like that. Did he approach you? Because I know that he, obviously every situation is different. Your situation was very different than his. But I mean, I'm sure you guys were facing some of the same sort of roadblocks. Did he come to you? Did you go to him?
Yeah, I reached out to everybody that's on that list. So I reached out to Blake, and I think one of the things that you realized pretty quickly, or I realized pretty quickly, was like, oh yeah, like this connected with everyone in some way or another. And part of it is like bringing that to the forefront. So having someone with, obviously who had a great career such as Blake, and, having him tell his story and talk about the impact that these different concepts and how they played a role in his journey. That's a powerful thing to me. So I think it just highlights how much need is in that space, and also the willingness that the guys and girls that I reached out to had, because they understand how important this aspect of the game is for, the player, and beyond that, the person. Because ultimately, like, hey, we want to build really great people that are going to be productive in our community, and we anybody that's played sports understands the value of being a part of a team and the lessons that you can learn in those moments. So it's I was happy to have someone like Blake use it to spread the word.
What are some of the things you're hearing from the kids that take part and the parents that take part in the program?
Yeah, we've heard a lot, and we have a bunch of different, testimonials on our site. I've heard anything from, my son didn't want to go to, I had to drag him to the rink every day last year, and now, like, he's up early in the morning. He's just so excited to go to the rink because of the progress that he's made to, my oldest son went through it last year, and just how we were able to like leverage the program to create such a fun environment for that group. So I've experienced myself, and I think just it brings a lot of communication to the forefront and conversations. So I know I was having a lot of different conversations with my son that we didn't normally have, and the parents on our team experienced kind of that same thing. So, it's a lot of these different things. Our kids don't want to talk about it, but we also understand they're really important for them to understand, just so, they obviously have an idea of those things like confidence, and what is it? How do you, there's a lot of adults that, don't really know where confidence comes from and how to help create that. So to be able to have those conversations with your kids and give them some framing so they have some handles on what it is and the opportunity there for them to actually go create that for themselves has been fun.
Well, thanks so much, Andrew. Andrew Ladd, former captain of the Winnipeg Jets, joining us. Is there anything else that I missed, something that you want to make sure that you get out there to the listeners?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate that this is free. It is completely free. We've had great support from a lot of different donors in the NHL. And their industry growth fund has been tremendous in helping us upgrade the platform. So it's a brand new platform this year, and we have 2 different streams. So if you go through it this year, or you already went through it last year, you can get a whole new set of videos this year. And once again, it's 1616.org, and you can figure out all the information from there.
Yeah, go to the website. You can find out how it works, contact, donate, and find out more information, impact statements, all that sort of thing. So, Andrew, thanks so much for your time again. I really appreciate you popping on the show.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. 204-780-6868, 204-780-6868. Some great initiatives going on there. That's for sure. And again, more information, you want to find out more, 1616.org. For former Winnipeg Jet captain Andrew Ladd. A wonderful initiative there. Let's take a break. Let's come back on the other side. We'll reheat some of the best takes from the past week and look back at some of the things that we missed. Some great comments and some great commentary as well to come. I did mention Jonathan Toews out there on the ice at Hockey for All Center. The Winnipeg Jets putting that out on X, and believe me, Jonathan Toews is going to factor into a lot of the questions and a lot of the comments that we go over as the show goes on. Specifically, how many games do you think Toews is going to want to play in the preseason, or if he could hit this number in a Jets jersey? I don't know. We'll wait and see. More to come.
OB.
Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line to win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program, which is coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio for gourmet pizza and pasta. Bring the team to Boston Pizza. While you're at it, download the Jets at Noon podcast free now on Apple, Spotify, face-to-face on YouTube, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, with plenty of memorable Jets talk and episodes and special content exclusively found there. So you can take Jets at Noon wherever you go, whenever you want. As well, if you missed my conversation there with Andrew Ladd, former captain of the Winnipeg Jets, he joined us once again. We had him on a couple weeks ago to talk about Jets and his time here, and then had him back on to talk about his wonderful foundation as well. Just go to 1616.org. If you missed that great conversation, go back, download the podcast. It'll be up there around 1:30. You can also download some exclusive stuff. Tyson and I talking about today when talking gets you into a little bit of trouble. When to be quiet. I think we can learn something from that. That's for sure. Let's go back and let's reheat some of the takes that we missed from the last week. Let's get right into it. Kevin texted the show and said, how will the new NCAA format affect the drafting of the Jets? Will the Jets continue to draft the best player available, or will they draft according to someone who might sign with the Jets and sign a contract with the Jets? So, Kevin, this is a great question because we're sort of entering a bold new world with the NCAA, the ability for them to pay players. And we see Gavin McKenna go off to Penn State and getting a big paycheck over there. We're kind of entering a bold new world here. And we all know that players that are drafted while a part of while committed to an NCAA program, they have more powers or more levers that they can pull than players in the CHL. So, should the Jets continue to draft the best player available? Yes. I don't think that they change that. Because they've had issues with NCAA players like Rucker McGroarty and all that, but they've had successes with it too, right? Kyle Connor, Dylan Sandberg, right? Among many others. So I'm not sure it's necessarily prudent for the Winnipeg Jets to change how they're drafting, especially considering we don't know how things are going to change, right? So things are going to be different, but we don't have that sort of 2020 vision looking back 5 years. Oh, we should have done this, should have done that, right? I think if you don't know how much things are going to change, I don't think you necessarily should change how you're going about the way that you draft players, right? Does that make sense? So should it eventually, or will it eventually change how the Winnipeg Jets draft players? Yeah, maybe. But as of this moment right now, we don't necessarily know how much that necessarily will happen. So I think, Kevin, just to the best of the abilities for the Winnipeg Jets and the organization, I think it's status quo until it is not anymore status quo. Big Spence texts and says, do you think the Jets lineup will be older or younger when the puck drops for the regular season in 2025, 26, this upcoming year? Yeah, older for sure. Mostly because, well, first of all, the team hasn't really changed that much. So everyone is a year older. So, I mean, that's me, like, basically skirting around the question that you actually asked. But yes, they will be older. And then when you add 33-year-old Tanner Pearson, 37-year-old Jonathan Toews, 36-year-old Gustav Nyquist, 35-year-old Luke Schenn starting the year with the team, and at training camp, the Winnipeg Jets have gotten older and will be older this year than last. That's not a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. So I like the Jets' chances this year. That's for sure. James says, hey, Cam, imagine the Jets trying to pry away Sidney Crosby from the Pens for a few picks and prospects. Our center depth, Scheifele, this is in the realm of fantasy, James, and I think you come around to that. Our center depth, Mark Scheifele, Crosby, Lowry, Toews, not even talking about the winning pedigree in 87 and 19. 87, of course, the number for Sidney Crosby, 19, Jonathan Toews' number. With such a lineup, we got to win the cup. Thoughts on that? Yeah. That James, and I think when you sent that off, I think you knew it was in the realm of a pipe dream of all pipe dreams. Sidney Crosby is going to retire with the Penguins. That's my belief. I don't have any insider knowledge. I haven't texted, hey, Sid, what are you going to do? I think Sidney Crosby is going to retire with the Penguins. I don't think he's going anywhere. Does he want to win? Yes. Does he still have the drive to win? Yes. Is he preparing for this season like he's preparing to win the Stanley Cup once again for the fourth time? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen with the Pittsburgh Penguins? No. Does he want to leave the Penguins and tarnish this only ever played for one franchise title that he currently holds? No, I don't think so. I don't think Sidney Crosby's going anywhere. He signed a team-friendly contract on purpose for $8.7 million. And he's got 2 more years on it, this year and next, this upcoming year and next. I don't think Sidney Crosby's going anywhere. I don't think so. But hey, crazier things could have happened. And is he going to come to Winnipeg? I don't think so. I think he's going to stay put in Pennsylvania there. This one comes from an anonymous texter that didn't leave a name. That's fine, but always try to leave a name on this. This texter says, why can't the Jets loan Ville Heinola to a Finnish club to help get his game together with less pressure and a more comfortable environment? So this is interesting because I actually looked into this. Technically, the Jets could. It's irregular for somebody who's 24 years old to do this, but the Jets technically could do this. But the Jets are entering a year right now where they're carrying too many blue liners, right? Morrissey, DeMello, Pionk, Sandberg, lock them in. Then Fleury, Stanley, Heinola, Schenn, Miller, right? Colin Miller. So considering that Fleury just signed a 2-year deal, I don't think he's going to be somebody that's going to be placed on waivers. But of those 4 defensemen, Stanley, Heinola, Schenn, Miller, one of them is going to, one or more of them is going to get waived. I don't think it's going to be Luke Schenn. And I don't think it's going to be Colin Miller either. So that leaves Stanley and or Heinola. As of right now, if Heinola enters next year and doesn't play 27 games, he will become what is described as a Group 6 UFA, which is for players that have played less than 80 games in the NHL, right? And he's played 53 games only, right, by 24. So if he plays, it's interesting because do they think that they're going to pair him with Luke Schenn? I don't know what's going to happen. A lot is going to be determined at camp and by injuries and in the preseason and all this sort of thing. So do I think Ville Heinola is going to get loaned to a Finnish club? No, I don't. I don't think he's going to get loaned. But he might get waived, or Logan Stanley might get waived. Or there could be a trade here, right? I mean, we've heard about that this whole time, right? Are the Winnipeg Jets going to make a trade? Or, they're going to be carrying too many blue liners. Are they going to move one of those guys for something? I don't know what, but for something, or else lose them via waiver wire. Potentially. So all this has to come to a head. But I don't think Ville Heinola is going to be loaned to a Finnish club. Kyle says they need to get more hitting back into the game. The NHL is way too soft now, but the league is way too soft on the dirty stuff. Kevin Cheveldayoff, general manager of the Winnipeg Jets, should win GM of the year for 2 awful deadline trades and doing nothing else Geez, just lots of bad takes today. That one from Kyle. Well, I'll agree with you on one thing, Kyle, is the league is too soft on the outright dirty stuff. That I'm with you on there. I don't know how necessarily you fix that, but that's an ongoing conversation between the NHLPA and the National Hockey League, because that's where the parameters are set on these sort of things. And considering that there's going to be labor peace for the foreseeable future, I don't necessarily see that them becoming harsher on what you would describe as the dirty stuff. I disagree with you with your take on the Jets acquiring Luke Schenn and Brandon Tanev, saying that they were awful. I think that that's far from true. I find it increasingly more and more difficult to understand why some people, some individuals can't understand how much stuff goes on behind the scenes that doesn't get reported and or doesn't come to fruition. Right? I'm more than certain that Cheveldayoff made more than 2 calls, one for Shannon and then one for Tanev. I'd love to know the stuff that didn't come to fruition and the stuff that happened behind the scenes, right? Because we know that players, they dictate a lot. There's any no move clause, and the Winnipeg Jets are on there. They can say yay or nay, right? So to say that Kevin Cheveldayoff did nothing, I mean, it's just we'll keep talking about this until we stop talking about it, and I don't think we're ever going to stop talking about it. It's just missing a lot of context as to what was actually going on. I think there was lots going on behind the scenes that we're just not privy to. So Brian says, hey guys, here for all the talk, all that talk about tax-free states getting an advantage. Why don't we talk about low cost of living? I would think Winnipeg would be very close to the bottom on that. Yeah. It's interesting you brought that up, Brian, because I think a lot of sort of the argument from the NHLPA and the NHL over this last round of bargaining was talking about just like that, right? There's so many variables when we're discussing this, beyond just, Tennessee, Nevada, Texas, Florida. And those states might not have state income tax, which is a benefit. There's no doubt about that. But those states also operate. And there's other ways for them to grab your money. Those states also carry very high property tax, for example. So they find other ways to get your money. And the more I've thought about this, and if you can just excuse my own sort of personal politics being inserted in here, so apologies. But when the government sticks its fingers into something with the intention of fixing it or helping out, like, hey, let's try and balance things away from the advantage of the no tax states, there's usually unintended consequences that occur, right? Often, but not always, but often, that make the situation worse in other areas, right? Like offside review, for example. Kelly and I discussed this on Free for All Friday, but was the intention of video review really to go frame by frame to see if there is a shred of white, a millimeter offside, as we sit through a 6-minute long video review from all angles as we sit there twiddling our thumbs, right? No, it was meant to eliminate the obvious missed calls, but this is what it's sort of become, right? So do I want the NHL sort of trying to balance things out in this way or that way? I don't know. I think the best course of action, honestly, is to just leave it alone. Just to leave it alone. Let's squeeze some more in here. Bob says, how many games do you think Jonathan Toews plays in the preseason? This is a really great question, Bob. Because, I mean, if you ask me what I thought, I would say 4. But I mean, this all depends on how Toews feels, right? I don't think this is a Connor Hellebuyck or Mark Scheifele situation where it's like, okay, I want 2, I want 2.5. Good, perfect. That's what you're going to get. He might want 4. He might want 3. And I think it's becoming more and more apparent as the season goes on and where it's heading. A lot of stock is on number 19. And a lot is on the shoulders of Jonathan Toews. And I don't want to put too much stock into one player out of a 23-man roster. And any good coach would totally brush that aside and say, listen, there's 23 guys on this roster here in the NHL roster, and it's up to all of us, right? Any coach worth his salt or any general manager worth his salt would say something like that. But I think the fans know that there is a lot on Jonathan Toews' shoulders for this team, and where I still think this is a fantastic roster without him. But listen, him being able to play as a quote unquote second line center is vital to this team's success, I think, this upcoming year. So I'd be surprised if it was 2 games. I'd be really surprised if it was 2 games. But again, it's how much he feels he needs to be prepared to get ready for the NHL season. And let's squeeze one in here by Biff. Biff says, Can Toews hit 1,000 points in a Jets jersey? Yeah, he could. He's got a long way to go. He's 37 right now, and from what we know, he wants to play 2 more seasons. So it's not outlandish. He needs to get to 1,000 over those 2 years. He needs to hit nearly 60 points in both those seasons. So I think that's a tall order. Can he do it? Yeah, he can, but it's a tall order. And if he can play a third year, well, then of course he gets a lot closer. But a lot needs to fit together. A lot needs to be figured out. Let's take a break. Let's come back on the other side. Yeti John, I don't know where John came up with this name, Yeti John, wants to know my thoughts on fantasy sports. I'll let you know where I sit on that. And then Kevin asks, when do you think the Cup is coming back to Canada? Well, Kevin, I'll give you my thought on that when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
With Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Hey, congratulations to Nathan. Nathan sent this text. He's our VIP texter, VIP car wash winner from our good friends at Wash Method, 690 St. Anne's Road. Nathan said in regards to the conversation about cost of living being cheaper, of course, in places like Winnipeg compared to, of course, New York City. And that also being a factor in you know, the ongoing conversation about no tax states and all that. Nathan says, also make an extra 30 cents on the dollar for all the contracts are in American dollars. Yeah, that's a good point too, Nathan, and one that I don't think we talk enough about. Miss your chance, get your thoughts on the show today. Call the Boston Pizza Jets at Noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6868. Coming for lunch every weekday to Boston Pizza. Get a delicious main side and ice cold drink for only $15 only at BP. The number one caller will be awarded a $50 gift card to Boston Pizza on Friday. Kevin says, do you think the Jets, when do you think the Cup comes back to Canada? Well, I kind of tipped my hat on my answer. The Jets, obviously, duh. I don't know. But if I'm being realistic, once again, the Edmonton Oilers have the best chance to lift the Cup again this season. And I wholeheartedly agree that. Second is the Jets, and I don't think they're that far behind. The Jets, I think, pound for pound, are a better team, but Edmonton is a greater team. Does that make sense? And so, listen, I don't like the Oilers at all, but I do live in reality. You know, I'm not totally absorbed with hatred. And Yeti John says, are there any plans for a fantasy draft on Jets at Noon? Well, not for me. Braden Owasco, producer here, has been trying to talk me into one for a while now. I don't want to. I think fantasy is a chore. And believe me, you don't want me on your fantasy draft because I'll let Otto take over and then I won't change my lineup at all. And then I end up winning, which I've done twice. And it drives everybody absolutely nuts. And it's like, hey, I didn't even do anything. You know, well, you can't hate me. I didn't do anything at all. Thank you very much to Carter. Great job for producing the show. We'll be back same time.